Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great Thursday. Just wanted to bring this COVID Devo to you for today. And this is day 18, believe it or not, that we've kind of been on this modified lockdown, I guess you could say. And this passage really stood out to me today. It's in Acts chapter 14. And here's what we read. It's an event that happened to Paul. It says, but the Jews came from Antioch in Iconium, and having persuaded the crowds, they stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing that he was dead. But when the disciples gathered about him, he rose up and entered the city. And on the next day, he went on with Barnabas to Derbe. When they had preached the gospel to that city and had made many disciples, they returned to Lystra and to Iconium and to Antioch, strengthening the souls of the disciples, encouraging them to continue in the faith, and saying that through many tribulations we must enter the kingdom of God. You know, sometimes we can hear that last part, this many tribulations, through that we enter the kingdom of God. This is coming from a guy, though, who was just stoned to the point that the people who stoned him, who threw stones upon him, they thought he was dead. He was hurt that bad. And I love that Paul gets up, and I don't want to minimize what he does because I'm sure he's incredibly hurt. But essentially, he dusts himself off, and he goes on about the work that God's called for him to do. This is again, and we don't want to belabor this, but it's a difficult time in history. But the reality is that God has still called us to a work. As followers of Christ, He has still called us to disciple people. And so don't think that you can check out during this time as a follower of Christ, that there's nothing that you have to do when it comes to you being obedient to God just because times are tough. Paul was mistaken for dead. He was hurt so bad, and he continued on in the mission God had given him. So church, continue on in the mission God gave you. Yes, adjust. Yes, pivot. Yes, it has to change so that we protect those around us. But man, continue to invest in people. Continue to share the gospel. People need it now more than they ever have, as people are worried and scared, and they're reminded that life is that life. There is some finality to life, and that there is some futility to life as well. So go about the role that God has called you to live out as a follower of Christ, and make a difference on this world and the eternities of those around you. Have a great day.